Hi, thank you all for joining the webinar today. Our today's conversation is going to be on insights and analytics in market conditions advisor, as well as insights and analytics that you could use without MCA, our main flagship product for the appraisal market. And Danny is kind enough to do another webinar for us to walk us through all the capabilities of MCI, of what we call market conditions insights. And as you all might already know, Danny comes from a very strong background in appraisal market, in general, the real estate valuation market. He's been around for over 35 years. I don't know how you feel about that, Danny. But,
Not good, especially when I look in the mirror.
That's right. And there's a lot of good experience in AVMs, portfolio evaluation, etc., covering many different companies, First Time, LPS, CoreLogic, Digital Map, and so on, right? And we want to spend maybe the first 15-20 minutes walking through the core capabilities and then open up for Q&A questions and so on. Yeah. So, Danny, over to you. Let's get going.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amesh. Hello again, everyone. This is the third in a series of webinars that we've done for Market Conditions Advisors. So if you attended the previous two, thank you. If this is your first one, welcome, and thank you for joining us. So as Amesh mentioned, we're going to talk today about insights and analytics, and we've got insights and analytics part of our Market Conditions Advisor solution. We also have it available as a standalone solution, as well as the ability of accessing that type of information via APIs directly into your systems, your applications yourselves. So first thing that we could touch on is the prop mix advantage. So what sets prop mix apart from some of the other providers that you're probably already familiar with out in the industry? So it seems like everybody's got more or less the same level of information. There's a couple of big aggregators out there that have 3,100 or so counties. Maybe some of them have as many as 3,000 foreclosure counties, but everybody seems to be in the same ballpark of about 154, 155 million properties or so throughout the United States. Prop mix takes it to another level because we've got relationships with MLSs, 400 or so, actually more than 400 MLSs that equates to north of 90% of the coverage in the country. We've also, because of the fact that we've got all those MLSs, we would have all of the imagery that comes along with those listings. So we've got about 400 million images. I think it's 22 or 23 terabytes of data. And if you were on the last webinar, you would have learned a little bit about Appraisal Vision, our image recognition technology, where we're actually labeling the photos within listings or labeling photos that you might want to upload into the MCA application yourselves. But as I've mentioned, the thing that we'll talk about today is that next to the last bullet down there, insights and analytics. So what we do for all of the MLSs that we cover around the country, we generate insights, analytics, leading indicators for, I believe the number's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25,000 or more zip codes nationwide that we cover with our insights and analytics. We also, because of all the data, if you're familiar with listing data, there is more than 500 data points that come out of the RETS feeds. We generate, much of that is just a duplication of listing agent names and addresses and stuff like that. But the items that we do generate the analytics on, there's about 30 or so data points that we generate for each zip code in the country. And it would be by property type as well as by listing status. So we generate these insights for single family, townhouse, condo, multifamily, you name it, and then as well as for the listing status of active, pending, sold, expired, things along those lines. And as I mentioned, we make the data available a number of different ways. It could be accessed via XML. That would be the APIs. We can generate static charts, images, and we also have interactive graphs, which is what I'll be showing you in a few minutes. We find that the most effective use of the insights is through the MCA application, because you're actually generating all of the information for your appraisal, running your comps, selecting your comps, the image recognition, all that other stuff. And then as part of the many elements of MCA would be the insights that are generated that I'm going to be talking about. So how does it work? All of the data nationwide that we collect, 90+% of the coverage for all of the listings in the country. Again, 99.9 or so percent coverage for public record, deed, and mortgage data. And we also generate insights for default data, foreclosure, auctions, short sales, stuff along those lines for about 2,500 counties or so nationwide. Every month, active, pending, sold, off market. We're also running averages as well as medians on many of those data points such as the current list price, the sold price, days on market, living area, lot size. So we're doing it for listing information as well as for the property characteristics that make up those listings. And not only are we providing information on the list price, we're also providing information on the new list versus the current list price. So when it comes on the market, what's the list price? What is the list price today? So we've got all of those insights generated. And as you can see, the last bullet there would be for generating the insights for the 1004 MC. To give you a quick idea of the different indicators that we generate at the zip code level, median list price would be one in particular. What would the asking price be? This is our standard key indicators for a zip code. And then along with this would come various charts and graphs. I'll give you a quick idea of one of those charts might look like. This would be the insight that I was just pointing out over here, the median list price, looking at that particular chart for that insight as you see here. So median list price per property type for the last 18 months. So you'll see as I move along, this is an interactive chart for the median list price over an 18-month period. And then also you'll notice up here, we've got different insights for single family, for townhomes, for condos, and all property types. Seeing as it's interactive, if you didn't want to be bothered with the noise from additional property types, you can turn them on and off very easily, any one of them, or you can leave them all on. And of course, export this into your report to be able to export into your appraisal. Same type of thing for days on market. I can demonstrate that one as well. So again, for all of the time frames and all of the different property types, new homes listed for sale, and so on. To give you an idea of the key indicators that are generated at the zip code level, we can also generate these indicators at a census tract level as well as at a city level. So there's a lot of flexibility with how we generate those insights. Moving on, so some of the interesting things that we do is comparing the different insights in one chart. So as you'll see here, this median list price versus median sold price, we have that available as a single chart, and then you'd be able to select the different property types, and you notice how the chart changes automatically. Or if you wanted to get those individual charts, you can bring them up the same way. So all of that access, all of that capability is at your fingertips right from within our application. Same applies to inventory and absorption rate. So this is particularly helpful, of course, at the 1004 MC level. And again, for the different property types, active and sold, or if you wanted them individually. We also generate the similar insights for the various characteristics on a property. So if you wanted to see how a neighborhood or a zip code is performing for median gross living area, you know, the properties that are listed and sold for the median gross living area, or number of bedrooms, or number of bathrooms, all of those charts as well are available. And this is an example of one of the static charts, so you'd be able to take this image and plop it right into your report. And much the same for market activity, so number of properties sold in that zip code, new listings in a given month, what's the average days on market, and how many months of supply. So again, the absorption and inventory, all of that information visually represented in charts. And again, another example of one of the static charts. So I'm just curious, Mesh, I'd like to open it up for, you know, if there's any questions. I know it's still a little early on, but I wanted to just see if there was any feedback or if there were any questions that might have been asked.
Yeah, sure, Danny. I mean, there's only one question that has come in so far. I thought I'll hold it till the end, but if you're ready to answer some of this. The question is, do you have insights for any other geographies, such as cities or neighborhoods?
Yeah, so we can do it down, as I mentioned a little while ago, we can do it down to the census tract level, at the city level, perhaps at an MSA level. That's not something that we're doing today, but we have that capability. It's just a matter of running those insights at whatever level that we would be required to run them at.
Yes, yeah. That's the only question at this point, Danny. I think you can keep going and they come in. Yeah.
Sounds good. So here's the other item outside of just the general insights, is the ability to run a 1004 MC. Now we know that there's been a lot of changes in the industry, and you know there's some talk about no longer needing it, but I do know that a lot of appraisers and a lot of lenders still, they may not require it, but they ask for it. And a lot of appraisers are still using the inventory analysis portion. So we've created a very simple connection to bring in the data points required for the inventory analysis. This is a screenshot from our MCA report, so you get an idea of all of the information that you would typically require within the MC report in the appraisal. We're bringing that information in exactly the way it should be, providing you with the trends. This is all automated. I can give you a quick idea. So if you were looking for an address, or if your property address was 1 Woodstock Place in Freehold, New Jersey, all we require, if you were to do this on your own, would be a radius and perhaps a property type, but we can generate this for the market without property type. So if we put in a 1 mile radius, single family residence, you'd notice you have all the information that you would need. And that's exactly what would be represented in this here market conditions addendum that you would be including in your appraisal. And here's another representative example of exactly that. So as I mentioned, one of the easiest ways to get to the data would be to actually run MCA. So if you ran an MCA, in this case here for that same property, I ran it for a 1 mile radius, and I was looking for just single family homes for 12 months. And you'll notice here is that inventory analysis that was generated. I'll give you an idea of what the output for that report would look like. So here's a full report that will be generated from MCA, again, here's all the images, all the labels, and we generate all those labels ourselves. Here would be the inventory analysis. And then the comps that we used for the report, individual comps. And then down at the bottom would be the actual insights that you'd be able to take out of the report. Another example of that, because I think it's important to be able to demonstrate that you could actually do this on your own. If you didn't want to use MCA, we have an application where you can enter your own zip code and any time frame up to 48 months to generate the same exact insights. And you'll notice this is all the interactive capabilities that we talked about for every one of the insights that we make available, and this would be for each individual month. And I'll give you an idea. So if you were using this as an XML output or MISMO output, each of these data points for each of these months and each of these property types would actually be exported individually. So you would have a boatload of information that you'd be able to work with. So if you're an analytical type and you wanted to take all the data out and crunch your own numbers, we make that available to you as well via our exports. So an XML export, you'd have the ability to do the same thing if you wanted to generate your own reports. Maybe you wanted them to look a little bit differently. But we try to make it as simple as possible for you, give you the ability to, with a very simple search process, get all of the information that you would require. And again, here's the individual reports if you wanted to take another look. And there's a lot of flexibility on how it's displayed. So if you wanted to display it in 2 columns versus 3 columns, again, it's all just very simple to use to get at the exact same information.
Hey, Danny.
Yes, sir.
Another question, as the questions are coming, I might as well just hit you with these.
Mm-hmm.
I think another question is coming is, how much history do we have on these insights? Maximum? Maybe.
Yeah, so we have been collecting data on a nationwide basis. Currently, we've been collecting for about 5 years. 5 years meaning we've been working with MLSs for that long. In some cases, the MLSs only allow 5 years of history. In some other cases, MLSs allow 10, 20, 30 years of history. So wherever we've got extended history, we can go back further than the 48 months, but we know nationwide across the board, 48 months is probably more than enough for an appraisal. I know when you are looking for comps, you're looking for history within a 3-year period. So I haven't had too many people ask for more than even 3 years, but we've got 4 years of history that would be available through our insights for every county and every zip code we cover. But then there's going to be certain areas that maybe will be a little bit more deep, a little bit further back in time. As far as sales data, public record-wise, we've got full history on the public record data, 10 years of mortgage data. So there's more than enough of public record history as well for us to generate insights. Thanks for the question.
Actually, while we're at it, there's one more question here, Danny.
Sure.
Maybe an interesting one. So the question is, if a property is sold or goes pending in the middle of the month, do you consider that active for that month, or what do we do? That's the question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So we generate the insights for those MCI, the market conditions insights. We generate on a monthly basis. We do that as we close out the month. The first week of the month, we generate the prior month's insights. But when we're talking about the 1004 MC, that's using live data. So we're looking at the data for what's currently available in the market, the current statuses in the market. So if you did a 1004 MC on a property today and then went back and did the exact same 1004 MC in a week, it might change slightly simply because some of the properties that were showing as pending might now be showing up as sold. So the numbers might change slightly. But insights-wise, so for these items here, it's going to remain monthly. Those are all generated on a monthly basis. Anything else? Great. Any other questions?
No, that's all I have so far here.
Okay. What do we have coming up in the very near future? So PropMix is always evolving. PropMix's data is always expanding and growing. Our coverage is always growing. And making better and more useful solutions for appraisers and appraisal management companies is our focus. So one of the things that we've been asked and we are about to comply with, and I say about because it's in testing as we speak and should be released very soon, is regression-based value adjustments. So we've built into MCA, if you are familiar with MCA, let's come back over here, you'll notice that we have a fair market value. So fair market value is essentially taking averages of the comps that were selected. So I've got 9 comps selected, the low values on the listings and sales, median values, and high values. And then we have currently an ability to adjust the value manually, but in this area here, we're going to be adding regression value adjustment capabilities. And that will be available, as I mentioned, very soon. So if you were to use this to come up with your own value or maybe to support your values, you would have all that capability in the very near future, probably within a couple of weeks, maybe by the end of the month, if not sooner. Some additional changes that we'll be adding into our application will be the ability to filter your insights to properties with that are within an HOA or properties that have pools and bathrooms and the half baths and stuff like that. Maybe properties that have solar on their roofs. And the distressed and foreclosure analytics are going to be added. They're running as we speak on a nationwide basis, and those will be added in as additional data points. So you'll be able to run the number of foreclosures versus the number of listings, number of pre-foreclosures, how many properties are currently scheduled for auction, and the various analytics over a series of time to see how that market is performing. What's the health in that market? Maybe 5 years ago, there was a high number of foreclosures, but today the foreclosure activity is way down. And then adding in public record data, more and better transaction history, deed history, mortgage history, all of that stuff is all coming. And then, of course, having the ability to directly load the data right into ACI, a la mode, SFREP, and the like. So those are all additional features coming to our solutions in the coming weeks and months. So,
Danny, there's one additional question that popped up while you're on the previous slide here. Mm-hmm. I think the question was about your distressed analytics. The question was, we also spoke about the default analytics. I think that's where the question may have popped up. What do we cover in terms of distress? What types of distress types do we cover on the properties? I mean, is it, I guess the question may be about RE or short sale in addition to foreclosure, maybe.
So there's certain data elements that actually come from the MLSs themselves. So we do cover the distress type. So if it's an REO or a bank sale or a short sale or something of that sort, we capture that information from the MLS. But we also have a full nationwide database of foreclosure activity information. And that's from a sister company of ours that's actually been aggregating that kind of data for 15 or so years. And that company is actually providing data to all of the other providers. We just have, we've got that data in-house. It's ours. One of the other things you may notice here is there's highlighted bands in the results. And what we do here is we're identifying properties that have flipped over a short period of time. So the flipping properties, if it was any sale activity within the last 24 months, and then the property was relisted, we're capturing that. So we're giving you that insight as well, letting you know that properties have flipped. And we can generate at the zip code level the number of properties that have flipped over a period of time, lots of different things along those lines. But as far as the default data, it's everything that you could think of, from REOs to repossessed properties, so properties that the banks took back at auction, auction properties, foreclosures or notice of default, all of that information. We're capturing that, and we're crunching those numbers, and we're making those numbers all available as insights as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny.
Okay.
No other questions here. I think nothing else popped up.
Sounds good. And we will be holding another webinar. We normally do these every couple of weeks, but because of the Val Expo, we're going to push the next one out to the following Friday. That would be the 27th. And on that one, we will have the regression analysis capabilities ready to go. And the next webinar will be on the MCA application with the regression valuation adjustments. And that will be conducted by myself again. And hopefully we'll see you at that webinar as well. So
great.
Thanks for your time today, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, for attending this webinar today on a Friday afternoon. Hope to see you again in about 3 weeks, I guess. We'll talk to you all again. Thank you.
Thank you.